He raised them with nothing but love and care, yet on his deathbed his own children laughed with joy. What dark secret twisted their hearts so cruelly? Subscribe now and let's uncover the shocking truth together. The old man's eyes rolled back as his last breath escaped his lips. His 3 children stood around the bed, but not one tear fell from their eyes. Instead, they exchanged quick glances filled with greed and excitement. "Finally," whispered Marcus, the eldest son, adjusting his expensive suit. "The old fool is gone." His sister Victoria nodded, her gold jewelry catching the morning light streaming through the window. "Now we can sell this dusty old house and split the money." Their younger brother James rubbed his hands together like a fly on honey. "I already called the lawyer. He's coming tomorrow to read the will." None of them noticed the quiet man in the corner, mopping the floor with steady hands. Kofi had been cleaning their toilets, washing their dishes, and tending their garden for 20 years. To them, he was invisible, just another servant who didn't matter. But if they had looked closer, they might have seen something familiar in his dark eyes, something that reminded them of their father. The funeral was a grand affair. The 3 siblings wore black designer clothes and fake tears. They shook hands with important people and spoke of their beloved father with practiced sorrow. Kofi stood at the back of the church in his simple white shirt and black pants. He was the only one truly crying. While the family counted potential inheritance money, he remembered the man who had secretly taught him to read, who had given him a job when no one else would. "Look at that servant," Victoria whispered to her brothers. "Still crying like a baby. Father was too soft on the help." What she didn't know was that Kofi wasn't just any servant. He was her half-brother, born to their father and a village woman 25 years ago. But this secret lay buried deeper than any grave. After the funeral, the family gathered in the lawyer's office. Mr. Asante, an elderly man with kind eyes, opened his briefcase slowly. "Before we begin," he said, "I must tell you something unusual about your father's will." Marcus leaned forward greedily. "Unusual how? Did he leave us more than expected?" The lawyer's expression grew serious. "Your father made some interesting changes in his final months. He spoke often of justice and family secrets." Victoria's heart skipped. "What kind of secrets?" But before the lawyer could answer, his phone rang. "Excuse me," he said, stepping outside. "Emergency at the courthouse. We'll have to continue this tomorrow." The siblings left frustrated, but they had a plan. That night they would break into the lawyer's office and read the will themselves. They couldn't wait another day to know their fortune. Meanwhile, Kofi returned to the empty house. He walked through the rooms where he had spent 2 decades cleaning, cooking, and caring for a family that treated him like dirt. In the master bedroom, he touched the chair where the old man used to sit and tell him stories about their ancestors. "I will miss you, Father," he whispered to the empty room. The next morning brought shocking news. The lawyer's office had been robbed, the safe was broken open, and several documents were missing, including the will. "This is terrible," Marcus said, trying to sound upset. Hidden in his jacket was the very document they sought. That evening, the 3 siblings met secretly in Marcus's apartment. With trembling hands, he unfolded their father's will. "Let's see how rich we are," James said, pouring expensive wine. But as Marcus read, his face went white. This can't be right." "What does it say?" Victoria grabbed the paper. The will was clear. The house, the land, the businesses, even the hidden gold their father had saved for 40 years, everything went to someone named Kofi Asante. "Who is Kofi Asante?" James shouted. "We don't know any Kofi Asante!" Victoria's eyes widened with horrible realization. "The servant, the toilet cleaner. His name is Kofi." "But his last name isn't Asante," Marcus said, confusion mixing with rage. What they didn't know was that Kofi had been using his mother's maiden name, Mensa, all these years. His real name, the name on his birth certificate, was Kofi Asante. Their father had given him his own surname, though he never told anyone why. The siblings sat in stunned silence. Their servant, the man they had treated like dirt, was inheriting everything. "We have to destroy this will," Victoria said, her voice cold as ice. "But the lawyer has copies," James protested. Marcus smiled an evil smile. "Not anymore. I took all the copies from his safe. This is the only one left." Without hesitation, Victoria grabbed the will and threw it into the fireplace. The flames consumed their father's final wishes, turning justice into ash. "Now what?" James asked. "Now we go to court and claim our inheritance," Marcus said. "Without a will, the law says everything goes to the children equally." But their father had been smarter than they knew. Hidden in the house was a second will, sealed and waiting. He had suspected his children might try something dishonest. The next day, the family met with a different lawyer to process the inheritance. Since no will could be found, the estate would be divided among the 3 children. Kofi was given 1 week to pack his belongings and leave the only home he had known for 20 years. "Don't take anything that doesn't belong to you," Victoria warned him coldly. "We'll be watching." Kofi nodded quietly, his heart breaking. He had loved this family despite their cruelty. He had hoped that somehow, someday, they would accept him as their brother. As he packed his few possessions, he found an old photo hidden in his room. It showed him as a young boy, sitting on their father's lap. On the back, in their father's handwriting, were the words, "My beloved son Kofi, blood of my blood, heir to my legacy." But Kofi couldn't read very well, and he didn't understand what the words meant. While the servants prepared to leave, something unexpected happened. The family's neighbor, Mrs. Osei, came to visit. She was a wealthy businesswoman who had known their father for 30 years. "I'm sorry for your loss," she said to the siblings. "Your father was a good man. He spoke often of his children, all 4 of them." "4?" Marcus asked, confused. "There are only 3 of us." Mrs. Osei looked surprised. "He always counted Kofi as his 4th child, said he was the son of his heart, if not his wife." The siblings exchanged worried glances, but they said nothing. Mrs. Osei had brought her daughter Amma to pay respects. Amma was 23, beautiful, and educated at the best universities. But she was also kind and humble, unlike many wealthy young women. When Amma saw Kofi carrying his belongings to the servants' quarters, she felt something stir in her heart. There was dignity in his sadness, strength in his gentleness. "Hello," she said softly. "I'm Amma. I'm sorry for your loss." Kofi looked up, surprised that someone so refined would speak to him. "Thank you, miss. Mr. Asante was a good man." "You called him Mr. Asante," Amma noticed. "Most servants would say master or sir." Kofi's eyes grew distant. "He told me once that all men are equal in God's eyes. He said I should call him by his name because we shared something special." Amma felt drawn to this humble man with the wise eyes. Over the next few days, she found excuses to visit the house. She brought food for Kofi and listened to his stories about their father. "He was different when you weren't around," Kofi told her. "Kind and gentle. He used to teach me about the stars, about our ancestors, about right and wrong." "Why did he treat you so differently than his other children?" Amma asked. Kofi shrugged. "Maybe because I reminded him of someone he once loved." But love was growing between Kofi and Amma, pure and true. She saw past his humble clothes to the noble heart beneath. He saw past her wealth to the beautiful soul within. The siblings watched this developing romance with disgust and worry. "We need to get rid of him quickly," Victoria said. "If he marries into the Osei family, they might start asking questions about father's will." Or lack thereof, Marcus added grimly. They decided to be cruel. The next morning, they accused Kofi of stealing silver spoons from the kitchen. "You're a thief!" James shouted. "We trusted you, and you stole from us!" Kofi's eyes filled with tears. "I would never steal from this family. This house is my home." "Not anymore," Victoria said coldly. "We're calling the police." But before they could, Amma arrived with her mother. She had heard the accusations and was furious. "How dare you accuse this good man of stealing?" she said. "I've watched him for a week. He's more honest than any of you." Mrs. Osai studied the siblings with sharp eyes. "Your father would be ashamed of how you're treating Kofi. He always said this young man was more family than servant." "He was just being kind to the help," Marcus said dismissively. "Was he?" Mrs. Osei asked. "Or was there another reason?" The siblings felt a chill of fear, but they couldn't know that Mrs. Osei had been their father's closest friend, and that she knew secrets that could destroy them. That night, Kofi walked alone in the garden where he had worked for 20 years. Every flower, every tree held memories of the man who had raised him like a son while pretending he was just a servant. Amma found him there under the mango tree. "Don't let them break your spirit," she said gently. "You're worth more than all of them combined." "I'm just a servant," Kofi replied. "What do I have to offer someone like you?" Amma took his hands in hers. "You have a heart full of love, hands that know honest work, and eyes that see truth. That's more valuable than all the gold in Ghana." They shared their first kiss under the stars, while the man who had secretly been Kofi's father watched from heaven with tears of joy. But happiness was short-lived. The next morning, the siblings presented fake evidence that Kofi had been stealing from the family for years. They had planted jewelry in his belongings and bribed witnesses to lie. "We're pressing charges," Marcus announced. "He'll go to prison for theft." Amma begged her mother to help, but even Mrs. Osei's influence couldn't fight fabricated evidence. "I'm sorry," Mrs. Osei told Kofi, "but I promise you this, the truth always comes out eventually." As the police led Kofi away, he looked back at the house where he had spent his life. In the window, he saw a figure that made his heart stop, the ghost of his father pointing toward the attic. But ghosts don't exist, and Kofi thought grief was making him see things. In prison, Kofi met an old man named Kwame, who had been the family's gardener 30 years ago. "You look familiar," Kwame said, studying Kofi's face. "You have the eyes of someone I once knew." "I worked for the Asante family," Kofi explained. Kwame's expression changed. "Asante? Then you knew the master when he was young. Did he ever speak of a woman named Akoshua from the village?" Kofi's heart raced. "That was my mother's name. She died when I was 5. "Your mother," Kwame whispered. "Boy, what's your real name?" "Kofi Mensah. But my mother's dying words were strange. She said my father's name was Asante, and that I should find him someday." Kwame grabbed Kofi's shoulders. "Child, I was there when you were born. I carried the message to your father. He wanted to marry your mother, but his family forbade it. So he brought you to his house as a servant, but loved you as his son." The truth hit Kofi like lightning. He wasn't just a servant. He was the eldest son, the rightful heir. "But why didn't he tell me?" Kofi asked. "He was waiting for the right time," Kwame said. "He planned to reveal everything in his will." Meanwhile, the siblings were dividing their inheritance. They had sold the house to developers who would tear it down for apartments. The land would become a shopping mall. Everything their father had built would be destroyed. But Amma couldn't let go. She convinced her mother to buy the house from the developers. "I want to preserve it," she said. "It holds too many memories to destroy." As workers prepared to clear the attic, they found a hidden compartment behind the wall. Inside was a metal box containing documents, photographs, and a second will. Mrs. Osei read the will with growing amazement. It was dated just 1 week before the old man's death, and it told the whole truth. Kofi Asante, not Kofi Mensah, was the biological son of the deceased. He was to inherit everything: the house, the businesses, the land, and the gold hidden beneath the garden. But there was more. The will explained that Kofi's mother had been the old man's first love, and that he had spent 20 years trying to find a way to publicly acknowledge his son without destroying his other children's lives. "He loved all his children," the will said, "but Kofi is the product of my truest love, and he has proven himself worthy through 20 years of faithful service despite cruel treatment." Mrs. Osei rushed to the prison with the will and the birth certificate that proved Kofi's identity. But when she arrived, she learned that Kofi had been released that morning. Charges had been dropped when the fake evidence fell apart. But where was he? Kofi had returned to the house one last time to say goodbye to his father's memory. He found Amma waiting for him in the garden. "I knew you'd come back," she said with tears in her eyes. "I had to see it one more time before they tear it down," Kofi replied. "What if I told you they're not tearing it down? What if I told you everything is about to change?" Before Kofi could ask what she meant, Mrs. Osei arrived with the lawyers and the will. The siblings, who had been packing their father's final belongings, were called to witness the reading. "This is the real will," Mrs. Osei announced. "The one your father hid because he knew you might try to destroy it." As the lawyer read the document, the siblings' faces went from confusion to horror to rage. "This is impossible," Marcus shouted. "That servant can't be our brother." "The birth certificate says otherwise," the lawyer replied calmly. "Kofi Asante is your father's eldest son and the rightful heir to everything." Victoria lunged at the documents, trying to tear them up, but the police officers Mrs. Osei had brought stopped her. "You can't prove this," James yelled. "We'll fight it in court." "With what money?" Mrs. Osei asked. "According to this will, you have no inheritance. Everything belongs to Kofi." The siblings stormed out, promising legal battles and revenge. But their father had been thorough. DNA evidence, witness statements, and legal documents all proved Kofi's identity beyond doubt. Kofi sat in stunned silence. In 1 day, he had gone from prisoner to millionaire, from servant to master of his own fate. "I don't understand," he said. "Why didn't he tell me?" "Because he was protecting you," Mrs. Osei explained. "He knew his other children's hearts. If they had known you were their brother and heir, they might have tried to hurt you." "He was right," Amma said softly. "Look how they treated you when they thought you were just a servant." Over the following weeks, the truth spread through the community. The siblings tried to contest the will, but every court upheld Kofi's rights. Their greed had cost them everything. Marcus lost his job when his employer learned about the stolen will. Victoria's husband divorced her when he realized she had no money. James developed a drinking problem and ended up on the streets. But Kofi's heart was too kind for revenge. He offered his half-siblings jobs in his businesses and a place to live in the servants' quarters of their childhood home. "You're too good for them," Amma said. "They don't deserve your kindness." "Family is family," Kofi replied. "Father would want me to show mercy." Only Victoria accepted his offer, humbled by the reversal of fortune. Marcus and James were too proud to work for their former servant. The toilet cleaner had become the master of his own destiny, but more importantly, he had become the master of his own heart. And in the end, that was the greatest inheritance of all. Amma and Kofi finally became husband and wife, not just by vows, but by the healing power of love. They built a life rooted in forgiveness, dignity, and quiet joy. In the end, it wasn't wealth or revenge that won. It was love. My sweet besties. What would you do if the ones who hurt you turned out to be your own blood? Do you want to know who writes all these stories? Comment "love" below, and I'll finally reveal the person behind this channel. And if this story touched you, like, subscribe, and share it with someone who believes kindness is weakness. Take care until next time. Sometimes the people we save end up saving us. This is the story of a man who gave a stranger shelter and uncovered a past that could destroy them both. But first, make sure you subscribe to my channel for more unforgettable African dramas, because what you're about to see will stay with you long after it ends. The rain was falling hard on the dusty streets of Lagos when Kwame's black Mercedes hit something in the darkness. The sound of breaking glass and a woman's scream cut through the night like a knife. Kwame jumped out of his car, his heart pounding. On the wet road lay a young woman, her body twisted in pain. Blood was running from her head, and her clothes were torn and dirty. "My God, what have I done?" Kwame whispered, kneeling beside her. The woman's eyes opened slowly. She was beautiful, even covered in blood and mud. "Please, help me," she whispered before closing her eyes again. Kwame didn't think twice. He lifted her into his car and drove to the best hospital in the city. Money was no problem for him. He owned 3 companies and had more wealth than most people could dream of. At the hospital, the doctors worked on the woman for hours. Kwame waited outside, smoking cigarette after cigarette, feeling sick with worry. "Sir, she will live," the doctor finally said. "But she has a broken arm, 3 broken ribs, and a serious head injury. She needs to stay here for 2 weeks." "I will pay for everything," Kwame said immediately. "Give her the best room, the best care." "Sir, do you know this woman?" the doctor asked. Kwame looked through the window at the unconscious woman. "No, but I almost killed her. Now I must save her." When the woman woke up 3 days later, she couldn't remember her name or where she came from. The head injury had damaged her memory. I can't remember anything," she said, tears rolling down her face. "Who am I? Where is my family?" Kwame felt his heart break. This beautiful woman was completely alone in the world, with no memory and no one to care for her. "Don't worry," he said gently. "I will help you remember. And until then, I will take care of you." The nurses called her Amma because she reminded them of someone they once knew. Kwame visited her every day, bringing flowers and books. He watched her struggle to remember her past, and slowly he began to fall in love with her. "Why are you being so kind to me?" Amma asked one day. "You don't even know who I am." "Because you deserve kindness," Kwame replied. "And because I think I'm falling in love with you." Amma's face turned red. "But I could be anyone. I could be married, or have children, or be a criminal. You don't know." "I know your heart," Kwame said. "I see how you treat the nurses, how you worry about other patients. You are a good person, Amma." Kwame had a sister named Ajoa who was jealous and greedy. She lived in a big house in the rich part of Lagos, but she always wanted more money and power. When Ajoa heard about Amma, she became furious. "Brother, you are making a fool of yourself over some street woman," she said angrily. "What if she's just pretending to have lost her memory to trick you?" "She's not pretending," Kwame said. "The doctors confirmed her brain injury." "Then she's even more useless," Ajoa said coldly. "A woman with no memory, no family, no money. She will ruin our family's reputation." Ajoa had a plan. She wanted Kwame to marry her friend Efua, a rich woman who owned several businesses. If they married, Ajoa would get a share of Efua's wealth. "Efua is perfect for you," Ajoa said. "She's beautiful, rich, and from a good family. Not like this damaged woman you found on the street." "I don't love Efua," Kwame said firmly. "I love Amma." "Then you are a fool," Ajoa said, "but I will not let you destroy our family's honor." Ajoa hired a private detective to find out about Amma's past. She was determined to find something terrible that would make Kwame stop loving her. The detective searched for weeks. Finally, he found something that made Ajoa smile with evil satisfaction. "I found out who she is," the detective said. "Her real name is Amara Johnson. She was married to a rich man in Abuja, but she ran away with his money and his best friend. The husband died in a car accident while chasing them. She's a murderer and a thief." Ajoa's heart filled with joy. This was perfect. She would destroy Amma and get her brother back. But the detective was lying. Ajoa had paid him extra money to make up a false story. The truth was that Amma had been an orphan working as a teacher in a small village before the accident. 1 month after the accident, Kwame brought Amma to his house. She was still recovering, and he wanted to take care of her personally. "This is your home now," he said, showing her the beautiful rooms and gardens. Amma cried with happiness. "I can't believe someone could be so kind to me." They lived together peacefully for 2 months. Kwame's love for Amma grew stronger every day. He decided to ask her to marry him. But Ajoa was waiting for the perfect moment to destroy everything. On the night before Kwame planned to propose, Ajoa invited herself to dinner. She brought Efua and the fake detective with her. "Kwame, I have something very important to tell you about your girlfriend," Ajoa said with a false smile. "What is it?" Kwame asked. "Tell him," Ajoa said to the detective. The detective looked at Amma and said, "This woman is not who you think she is. Her name is Amara Johnson. She was married to a rich man, but she stole his money and ran away with his best friend. Her husband died trying to catch them. She's a thief and a murderer." Amma's face went white. "No, that's not true. I don't remember my past, but I know I'm not a bad person." "Of course you would deny it," Efua said cruelly. "Criminals always lie." Kwame looked at Amma, his heart breaking. "Is this true?" I don't know," Amma said, tears streaming down her face. "I can't remember anything, but I know I would never hurt anyone." "You see?" Ajoa said triumphantly. "She can't even deny it. Brother, this woman has fooled you completely." Kwame was torn between his love for Amma and his doubt about her past. His heart said she was innocent, but his mind was confused by the lies. "I need time to think," he said quietly. "There's nothing to think about," Ajoa said. "She must leave this house immediately." "No," Kwame said. "She's still recovering. She can stay, but—" He looked at Amma with pain in his eyes. "We need to keep our distance until we know the truth." Amma felt her heart shatter into a million pieces. "You don't trust me." "I want to trust you," Kwame said, "but I need proof of your innocence." That night, Amma packed her few belongings and left the house. She couldn't bear to stay where she wasn't trusted. Amma found herself alone on the dangerous streets of Lagos. With no memory of her past and no skills she could remember, she struggled to survive. She slept in doorways and begged for food. Her injuries were still healing, and she was weak and sick. One day, a kind old woman named Mama Kemi found her collapsed in front of a church. "Child, what happened to you?" Mama Kemi asked, helping Amma to her feet. "I lost everything," Amma said weakly. "I lost my memory, my home, and the man I loved." Mama Kemi took Amma to her small house and gave her food and shelter. "Tell me your story, child," Mama Kemi said. Amma told her everything: the accident, losing her memory, falling in love with Kwame, and the terrible accusations. "And do you believe these accusations are true?" Mama Kemi asked. "I don't know," Amma said. "I can't remember anything, but my heart tells me I'm not a bad person." "Then trust your heart," Mama Kemi said. "God knows the truth even if people don't." Meanwhile, Kwame was miserable. He couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, and couldn't focus on his work. Every day he thought about Amma and wondered if he had made a terrible mistake. "You did the right thing," Ajoa kept telling him. "Now you can marry Efua and be happy." But Kwame wasn't happy. He felt empty inside. One night, he couldn't take it anymore. He went looking for Amma, searching every street and shelter in Lagos. When he finally found her at Mama Kemi's house, he was shocked. Amma was thin and sick, her beautiful face hollow with hunger and sadness. "Amma," he said, falling to his knees, "what have I done to you?" "You believed the lies," Amma said quietly. "You chose to trust strangers over the woman you claimed to love." "I was confused," Kwame said. "I didn't know what to believe." "You should have believed in me," Amma said. "If you truly loved me, you would have known I could never hurt anyone." Kwame couldn't live with his guilt. He hired his own detective to find out the real truth about Amma's past. This detective was honest and thorough. He searched for weeks and finally found the truth. "Sir, I have good news," the detective said. "This woman is completely innocent. Her real name is Amara Okafor. She was a teacher in a small village called Ibadan. She had no husband, no criminal record, nothing bad at all. She was known for helping orphaned children and was loved by everyone in her village." Kwame felt relief and anger at the same time. "Then why did my sister's detective lie?" "Because your sister paid him to lie," the detective said. "She wanted to destroy this woman so you would marry her friend Efua." Kwame's heart filled with rage. His own sister had destroyed his happiness and nearly killed an innocent woman with her lies. Kwame stormed into Ajoa's house with the evidence of her lies. "How could you do this to me?" he shouted. "How could you destroy an innocent woman's life?" Ajoa's face went pale. I was trying to protect you." "Protect me? You nearly killed the woman I love with your lies and greed." "She's nobody," Ajoa screamed. "You are rich and powerful. You should marry someone from our class." "Amma is worth more than 1,000 women like you," Kwame said. "She has a good heart, which is something you'll never have." "If you choose her over family, you will regret it forever," Ajoa threatened. "I already regret listening to you," Kwame said. "You are no longer my sister. Never contact me again." Kwame returned to Mama Kemi's house, but Amma was gone. "Where is she?" he asked desperately. "She left yesterday," Mama Kemi said. "She said she needed to find herself and remember who she really is." "Did she say where she was going?" "Back to her village. Her memory is slowly returning, and she remembered the name of her hometown, Ibadan." Kwame drove for hours to reach Ibadan. When he arrived, he found Amma at the village school, surrounded by children who remembered their beloved teacher. "Amma!" he called out. She turned, and he saw that her memory had returned. Her eyes were full of sadness and wisdom. "I remember everything now," she said. "I remember who I am, and I remember what you did to me." "I was wrong," Kwame said, tears in his eyes. "I was stupid and weak. I let my sister's lies poison my heart against you." "You hurt me deeper than any physical injury," Amma said. "You made me doubt myself when I was most vulnerable." "I know, and I will spend the rest of my life making up for it," Kwame said. "Please, give me another chance." Amma looked at Kwame for a long moment. "If you want me to forgive you, you must prove that you've changed." "Anything," Kwame said. "I'll do anything." "Give up your wealth," Amma said. "Come live here in the village with me. Work as a teacher and help these children. Show me that you love me more than money and status." Kwame was shocked. Give up everything he had worked for? His companies, his house, his comfortable life? I need time to think," he said. "That's what I thought," Amma said sadly. "You haven't changed at all. You still value money more than love." Kwame left the village with a heavy heart. For weeks, he struggled with Amma's challenge. Could he really give up everything for love? Finally, Kwame made his decision. He sold his companies and gave most of his money to charity. He kept only enough to live simply and help the village school. He returned to Ibadan with a small bag of belongings and a heart full of hope. "I did it," he told Amma. "I gave up everything. Now I want to spend my life helping these children and proving my love to you." Amma was amazed. "You really did it?" "Money means nothing without you," Kwame said. "I learned that a rich man with no love is poorer than a beggar with a kind heart." "And what about your sister?" Amma asked. "She is no longer part of my life," Kwame said. "She chose greed over family. I choose love over wealth." Amma and Kwame were married in a simple ceremony in the village church. The children they taught were their wedding guests, and Mama Kemi was like a mother to them both. "I forgive you," Amma said as they exchanged vows. "But I will never forget how you hurt me. This will make our love stronger and more honest." "I promise to never doubt you again," Kwame said, "and to never let anyone come between us." They worked together at the village school, teaching children and helping families. Kwame discovered that this simple life gave him more happiness than all his wealth ever had. Meanwhile, Ajoa's life fell apart. When people learned about her lies, they stopped trusting her. Her business partners left her, and even Afua turned against her. "You destroyed your own brother's happiness for nothing," Afua said angrily. "I could never marry a man whose sister is so evil." Ajoa lost her businesses and her house. She ended up alone and poor, with no one to help her. One day she came to the village, begging Kwame for forgiveness. "Brother, I was wrong," she said, falling at his feet. "I lost everything. Please forgive me." Kwame looked at his sister with sadness. "I forgive you, but I cannot trust you again. You must earn that trust back through good actions, not just words." "What should I do?" Ajoa asked desperately. "Start by telling the truth to everyone you lied to," Kwame said. "Apologize to Amma. Help the poor instead of trying to get rich. Maybe then God will forgive you." Ajoa slowly began to change. She worked hard to make up for her lies. She helped build new classrooms for the village school and took care of sick children. After 2 years of good behavior, Amma finally spoke to her. "I see you are trying to change," Amma said. "That takes courage." "I was jealous of you," Ajoa admitted. "You had my brother's love without money or status. I couldn't understand that love is more valuable than wealth." "Love is the only thing that lasts forever," Amma said. "Money can disappear, but true love grows stronger with time." 5 years after their marriage, Amma gave birth to twins, a boy and a girl. They named them Kemi and Kofi, after Mama Kemi and Kwame's father. "Look what our love has created," Kwame said, holding his children. "These beautiful souls exist because we learn to forgive and trust again. They will grow up knowing that love is more important than money," Amma said, "and they will never judge people by their wealth or status." The village celebrated the birth of the twins. Everyone loved Kwame and Amma because they had given up their comfortable life to help others. Years passed, and the village school became famous throughout Nigeria. Students from the school won scholarships to universities and became doctors, teachers, and engineers. Kwame and Amma grew old together, their love stronger than ever. They had faced the worst challenges: betrayal, lies, poverty, and heartbreak, but they had survived everything together. "Do you ever miss your old life?" Amma asked Kwame one evening as they watched the sunset. "Never," Kwame said. "That life was full of things, but empty of meaning. This life is full of love and purpose. Even when we struggled and went hungry? Especially then," Kwame said. "Those hard times taught us what really matters." When Kwame was 65 years old, he became very sick. The doctor said he needed expensive treatment in London, but he had no money left. "Use the children's school fund," Amma said. "Your life is more important." "No," Kwame said weakly. "Those children need that money for their education. I won't take their future away." Amma was heartbroken. She couldn't save her husband without destroying the dreams of hundreds of children. Then, something miraculous happened. The students that Kwame and Amma had taught over the years heard about their teacher's illness. They came together and collected money for his treatment. "Teacher Kwame saved our lives by giving us education," one former student said. "Now we will save his life." Kwame recovered and lived many more years with Amma by his side. Their children became teachers, and their home was filled with laughter, learning, and love. In their old age, they sat beneath the village tree, telling grandchildren how an accident became the start of a love that changed everything. It wasn't just about falling in love, Kwame would say. It was about learning that kindness is the greatest wealth. When they passed peacefully, hand in hand, the village buried them with honor. Their gravestone read, "They gave up everything to gain everything." Today, their school still stands, and every new child learns their story. My besties, I poured my whole heart into writing this story. Every scene, every emotion, every tear. If it touched your soul, please subscribe to my channel and tell me in the comments what was the most beautiful moment for you. Let's grow this family of kind hearts and deep stories. Take care of yourselves. Until next time. They grew up together, dreamed together, and got engaged. But the moment he struggled as a poor mechanic, she left him, humiliated and heartbroken. Years later, the same boy she abandoned now owns half the city. How did it all change? Watch till the end. And don't forget to subscribe for more powerful stories that prove life can turn tables in the most unexpected ways. The rain hammered against the windows of Mama Rose's diner as Marcus wiped his hands on his worn overalls. He had been waiting for 20 minutes, checking his phone every few seconds. When Keisha finally walked through the door, her designer heels clicking against the wet floor, he knew something was wrong. "Marcus, we need to talk," she said, not even sitting down. He stood up, his heart already sinking. "Baby, what's wrong? You look upset." "I can't do this anymore." She pulled off her engagement ring and placed it on the table between them. "I can't marry you." Marcus stared at the ring, his world spinning. "What are you talking about? Our wedding is in 3 weeks." "That's exactly the problem." Keisha's voice was cold, distant. "Look at yourself, Marcus. Look at this place. You work in a garage, your hands are always dirty, and you brought me to a diner for dinner. This place has good food, and you know I'm saving money for our future." "What future?" She laughed bitterly. "My father was right. I'm about to graduate from law school. I have opportunities, real opportunities. And you fix cars." Marcus felt like he'd been punched. "Keisha, I love you. I thought you loved me too." "I did love you, Marcus. But love doesn't pay for the life I want." She picked up her purse. "I'm engaged to someone else. David Wellington. His family owns Wellington Construction. They have government contracts worth millions." "You're already engaged to someone else?" Marcus's voice cracked. "His family is expecting me for dinner tonight. I'm sorry, Marcus, but this is how it has to be." She walked out, leaving him standing there with the ring on the table. Mama Rose, the elderly diner owner, came over with a cup of coffee. "Son, I saw what happened. You want to talk about it?" "She threw away 15 years like it meant nothing," Marcus said, his voice barely a whisper. "Some people chase gold and forget about the treasure they already have," Mama Rose said gently. "But maybe this is God's way of protecting you from the wrong person." Marcus walked back to his small apartment in Oakland, the ring heavy in his pocket. Everything reminded him of Keisha. The pictures on his dresser, the extra toothbrush by the sink, the wedding invitations stacked on his kitchen table. His phone buzzed, a text from his cousin Jerome in Atlanta. "Heard what happened, bro. I've got a job for you here. Good money, fresh start. You interested?" Marcus stared at the message for a long time. He had nothing left in Oakland. No reason to stay. His job at Peterson's auto shop barely paid enough to cover rent, and now everywhere he went, he'd be reminded of his failure. He texted back, "I'm in." When do I start?" 3 days later, Marcus loaded his tools and few belongings into his beat-up Honda and drove south. The 12-hour drive gave him time to think, to hurt, to question everything he thought he knew about love and worth. Atlanta was bigger than he expected, busier, full of possibilities. Jerome had gotten him a job at Elite Motors, a high-end auto shop that specialized in luxury cars. The pay was double what he made in Oakland. "You'll be working on Bentleys, Maseratis, the works," Jerome explained as he showed Marcus around. "Rich folks bring their cars here because we're the best." Marcus threw himself into the work. He arrived early, stayed late, and learned everything he could about luxury vehicles. The work was challenging, and for the first time in weeks, he felt like he was good at something. 6 months passed. Marcus had settled into a routine: work, gym, home, repeat. He had moved into a small apartment near the shop and was slowly building a new life. The pain of losing Keisha was still there, but it had dulled to a manageable ache. It was a Thursday afternoon when everything changed. Marcus was under the hood of a silver Porsche when he heard tires screech outside, followed by a loud crash. He rushed out to see a black BMW had rear-ended a delivery truck. The driver of the BMW was a young black woman, maybe his age, clearly shaken. She was trying to get out of the car but seemed disoriented. "Miss, are you okay?" Marcus ran over to help her. "I think so," she said, her voice trembling. "My head hurts and I can't see clearly." Marcus noticed blood on her forehead. "We need to get you to a hospital. Don't move too much." No hospital," she said quickly. "I can't. My father will find out. He'll use this against me." "Miss, you might have a concussion. This isn't about your father right now." The woman looked at him with eyes that seemed both frightened and grateful. "I'm Zara Johnson." "Marcus. And right now, Zara, I'm taking you to get checked out." He helped her into his car, leaving her damaged BMW at the shop. At the hospital, Marcus stayed with her through the x-rays and tests. The doctor said she had a mild concussion and needed rest. "Thank you," Zara said as they sat in the waiting room. "You didn't have to do all this." "Yes, I did. It's the right thing to do." She studied his face. "You work at that auto shop, don't you? I saw your uniform." "Yeah, Elite Motors. I'm a mechanic." "And you're proud of that work?" Marcus was surprised by the question. "I am. I'm good at what I do." Zara smiled for the first time since the accident. "I can tell. You have honest hands." Over the next few weeks, Zara brought her BMW to Elite Motors for repairs. She always asked for Marcus specifically, and they began to talk while he worked on her car. "You know," she said one afternoon, "I've never met anyone who loves their work the way you do." "What do you mean?" "You talk about engines like they're alive, like they have personalities." Marcus laughed. "I guess they do in a way. Each car has its own problems, its own story." "What's your story, Marcus?" He paused, wrench in hand. "Why do you want to know?" "Because you saved my life and I don't even know where you're from." "I'm from Oakland. Came here about 6 months ago for a fresh start." "What happened in Oakland?" Marcus was quiet for a moment. "I was supposed to get married. She decided I wasn't good enough." "Her loss," Zara said simply. "Is it? She's probably living in some mansion right now, married to her rich guy." "Money doesn't make a person good, Marcus. Trust me, I know." There was something in her voice that made him look up. "What do you do for work, Zara?" "I'm between jobs right now, family stuff." Marcus didn't learn the truth about Zara until she brought her car in for the 3rd time. This time, a black SUV followed her into the parking lot, and 2 men in suits got out. "Miss Johnson," one of them called, "your father is looking for you." Zara's face went pale. "Tell him I'm handling business. He wants you home for dinner. The Hendersons are coming over." After the men left, Zara slumped against her car. "I guess you're about to find out who I really am." "I'm listening." "My father is Robert Johnson. He owns Johnson Industries. Construction, real estate, government contracts. He's worth about $50 million. Marcus felt his world shift. You're rich. I'm trapped, she corrected. My father controls everything. My bank accounts, my car, my apartment. And he's trying to arrange a marriage between me and Thomas Henderson, whose family owns half the construction companies in Georgia. So why are you telling me this? Because I trust you, and because I'm tired of pretending to be someone I'm not. Marcus set down his tools. Zara, I can't do this again. Do what? Fall for someone who's going to leave me for someone richer, someone better. Marcus, look at me. She stepped closer. I'm not her. I'm not whoever hurt you. I'm here because I want to be, not because I have to be. That night, Zara called Marcus from her apartment. I need your help. What's wrong? My father found out about the accident. He's furious. He's moving up the engagement announcement to next week. Engagement? To Thomas Henderson. Marcus, I can't marry him. He's cruel, and he only wants me for my father's business connections. What do you want me to do? Help me disappear, just for a few days. I need time to think, to figure out how to stand up to my father. Marcus was quiet for a long moment. Where would you go? I don't know. I've never been on my own before. You can stay with me. I have a couch. Marcus, if my father finds out, let me worry about that. The next morning, Zara showed up at Marcus's apartment with a small suitcase. I left a note saying I needed space. I turned off my phone. How long do you think we have? Maybe a day or two before he sends people looking for me. Those 2 days were the most honest conversations Marcus had ever had with anyone. Zara cooked breakfast while he got ready for work. She told him about growing up in a mansion but never feeling at home, about business dinners where she was treated like a prize to be won. I have a master's degree in business, she said, but my father won't let me work in the company. He says my job is to marry well and represent the family. What would you do if you could do anything? I'd open my own business, maybe a consulting firm, help small businesses grow. So why don't you? Because I've never had to survive on my own. I don't know if I can. I think you're stronger than you know. On the third day, Marcus was at work when Jerome ran into the garage. Bro, there are some serious-looking dudes outside asking about you. Marcus looked through the window and saw the same 2 men in suits, plus a third man in an expensive coat. Robert Johnson. Tell them I'll be right out, Marcus said. He walked outside, wiping his hands on his overalls. Robert Johnson was a tall man with silver hair and cold eyes. You're Marcus Williams, Johnson said. It wasn't a question. Yes, sir. Where is my daughter? I don't know what you're talking about. Johnson stepped closer. Boy, do you know who I am? I know who you are, sir. The question is, do you know who your daughter is? Johnson's face hardened. Excuse me? Do you know that she's brilliant? That she has ideas that could make your company twice as successful? Do you know that she cries herself to sleep because she feels like a prisoner in her own life?